around the globe, we thank you so much for tuning into Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and making us a part of your morning on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. You want to make it even simpler for yourself, you could go to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage, and all you have to do on the homepage is click on the Facebook logo or the YouTube logo, or click on the Podbean feed, and by doing any one of those things, it'll bring you straight to our live broadcast Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And outside of those times, it'll bring you to our archives or bring you to the page. So make sure you check us out there on wakeupcalldt.com. And while you're there, go ahead and bookmark it, save it, and subscribe. It is free to be on wakeupcalldt.com. So make sure that you join us today, and we appreciate everybody who has done so very much. So thank you for that. Once the shows go live, you can hop into the archives and hang out with us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, Player FM, Podbean, Podvine, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, TuneIn, and more. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on any one of those outlets, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. So however you're connected with the show, we thank you for finding us on all of our podcasting platforms, making sure you click follow and subscribe while you're on any one of those. So, with that being said, here on a beautiful Thursday as we round toward the end of June, hard to believe, and we'll actually, and this has happened to us plenty of times, happened to us last year, is that the last show of the week will be the last month, or the last day of that month. So, last show of this week, which will be this Friday, will also be the end of June, June 30th, believe it or not. I can't even believe. I feel like June just started 5 seconds ago. I can't even believe it's over. But June 30th will be tomorrow, and July 1st will be Saturday. July 1st is a massive, massive day. It's a big day for Wake Up Call. We got a lot of stuff going on, and I'm really, really excited. So we have a lot of things that I'm going to be sharing with you. So this Saturday, July 1st, is the official day that Lemoyne becomes a Division I institution. The official first day in Division I, official first day in the NEC, the Northeast Conference. So that is happening this Saturday, July 1st. Also happening this Saturday, July 1st, the 6 schools that I've been covering that made the official announcement on my birthday of October 21st, 2021, those schools being Rice, as well as UAB, UTSA, North Texas, FAU, and UNC Charlotte, have all made the decision to join the American Athletic Conference. They officially joined the conference this Saturday, July 1st, 2023, leaving Conference USA for the American Athletic Conference. And I have a massive announcement, and I almost just said it. But I have a massive, massive announcement. We have a new partner. Now, we announced a new partnership already this week. We announced last week on June 21st that we have official merchandise for all of my shows, as well as Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. All of the awesome logos that my good buddy John Granquist, who's a fantastic graphic designer, created. We have all of those apparel pieces, which couldn't have been possible without John creating and just taking my vision, helping me on some things to, when I said I kind of want to do this, but I don't really know how to make it look. So just helping me to create and helping me to bring creations to life. I can't thank John enough for the incredible work that he did. And without him, none of these pieces, none of this merchandise would be possible. And so I want to thank John first, and I want to thank God first and foremost, and I want to thank John after that. And I want to thank Mark Burrell and East Coast Specialties for helping me to put all of these logos onto all of the incredible things that we now offer you. You can go and check out all the gear, all the merchandise, and if you'd like to make a purchase, we would love for you to do that. It says Mic'd Up, Geared Up, and you can check us out here on the site, so you could see everything that's here on the site, and be more than I'd be more than happy to have any of you join us in making a purchase here and seeing some of the great things that we offer. So a lot of great stuff here on the website. You can see that we have a bunch of different hats as well as polo shirts. We have pullovers. We have the DTBM network, Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, which features all of our logos. We have golf towels. We have joggers. We have shorts. We have a bunch of different sweatshirts. And on the sweatshirts, you can actually have put on the back of them the God bless, no stress, do your best quote that I say at the end of every show, be it Wake Up Call, Superpowered Pop, as well as Do Diz with Dan, Comic Book Trails. You can see them all there. We have blankets, we have duffel bags, we have dog clothes, so we have something for your dog to wear. And you can see these sweatshirts. We have like dry fit, tighter clothes like athletic gear. We have the looser fit t-shirts as well. And of course, like I said, polo shirts, hats, Nike. We have fitted hat. We have the flex fit hats, and we also have like trucker hats, the caps that obviously you have with the snapback. So we have snapback, we have fitted, we have Nike. So definitely make sure you go to the website and make a purchase today. So Comic Book Trails, Wake Up Call, Do Diz with Dan, Superpowered Pop, and the Dan Tortora Broadcast Media logo, all available on all of our gear. And it's all in one place. And we've shared that link. We'll continue to share that link for you from East Coast Specialties to make a purchase today, either to give a gift for somebody else or to get something for yourself to show support for Wake Up Call and all of the shows that we do here in Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. We would greatly appreciate it. So I thank you for those that already have, and I appreciate you so very much for those that will. So big time thanks for that. So we announced that last week, June 21st. This past Tuesday, June 27th, we made the announcement that GG Cards and Breaks is our sports card partner and located on Delmar Place, right down the road from where I spent most of my life up to this point with my grandmother living in the area. And God bless her in heaven. We just honored her Remembrance Day on June 24th, which is the same day that Josh Gideon, the owner of GG Cards and Breaks, sent me a message telling me that they 100% want to partner with me, which was perfect. Saw a rainbow that day. Got all kinds of good news that day. So, and the other one I can't tell you because it has to do with our special announcement coming up. But GG Cards and Breaks, we announced them this past Tuesday, June 27th. Go out and see them on 639 Delmar Place. They're open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Sunday from 10 to 5. They're right off of Teal Ave, and they're the sports card place that I've been waiting for decades to be in our community, to bring me back to my childhood in what they have and how they treat people and just what they bring to the table is really amazing. And they have all of my teams, which is very hard to find because I have an eclectic group of teams that I love, from the Toronto Raptors to the Arizona Diamondbacks to the Anaheim Ducks, as well as the Jacksonville Jaguars, and so on and so forth. So definitely go check them out. We're making another special announcement this Saturday, July 1st, so I'll have plenty of content from Lemoyne on the day that they officially join Division I in the NEC. I will have content from some of those schools that are joining the American Athletic Conference, and I say some because scheduling-wise, we're going to be releasing different specials at different times, but been covering the 6 schools joining the American Athletic Conference for 2 years now, and so we'll have more coming from them very soon, which I'm very, very excited about, including Commissioner Mike Oresco of the American Athletic Conference, giving them an official welcome. And I'll be making my big announcement this Saturday, July 1st at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And I may have another announcement after that. So there's a lot of great things happening. God is good. God is great. And there's a lot to be said. So there's a lot of cool things that are happening at Wake Up Call. A lot of cool things that are happening at Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. You can go out and get gear now. You could just involve yourself in so many really cool ways with us. I hope that you do. I appreciate those that have. And I am so elated to be making the announcement this Saturday, July 1st at 9 a.m. Eastern Time of our newest partner. And I want to tell you more, and I can't. But I did put up a cryptic message yesterday with the eyes emoji. I don't like using the word emoji, so I'm going to say that I'm going to say the little graphic of the eyes and some colors there that have significance, saying that we were getting ready to make an announcement soon. And then this morning, right before the show, I put up a video of me standing at the place that is becoming our newest partner and asking you who you think it is. So very excited for that. A lot of great stuff coming up on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. A lot of beautiful blessings here by the grace of God, which I am so eternally thankful for and happy to bring you. And inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', we have two incredible guests talk about blessings from God. My good friend Dave Pasiak, longtime basketball head coach and analyst, joins me to talk about the NBA draft results. We talked going into the draft. Now we'll talk coming out of the draft and what he thinks happened in the draft itself. And we'll talk about NBA free agency. And in hour number 2, I'll be joined by Papa Joe, who will join me in his normal stint on Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time to speak on Major League Baseball, golf, as well as the Jacksonville Jaguars, and maybe a little bit of horse racing this morning where sports meets life. So stay tuned for Papa Joe in hour 2, Dave Pasiak coming up here in hour number 1, as we will cover at least, bare minimum, the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball, and golf in today's broadcast of Wake Up Call where sports meets life.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Appreciate you being here, hanging out with us every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We appreciate you being here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. You want to make it easy for yourself, all you have to do is go to wakeupcalldt.com, our website, and when you're on the website, you can look for the Facebook right there on the homepage, the Facebook logo, the YouTube logo, as well as the Podbean feed, and you can catch us there so that you can connect with us live while you're on the website, checking out all the other cool stuff that we have, including many, many, many videos from all over the country, as well as our articles and our articles page, our online newspaper. Over 500 articles have been written there, and you could definitely go and check those out as well. You could check out our Lemoyne tab, our BSC Syracuse tab, with our content in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnerships with Lemoyne College, as well as Bryan and Stratton of Syracuse. So a lot of great stuff. Make sure you go check it out. We appreciate everybody that has. With that being said, I am always happy to have my good friend Dave Pasiak on the show, longtime basketball coach and analyst. I call it DT and DP because it sounds good. So, DT and DP, and because he deserves it. He's been on the show with me for like 11 years now. I think we can give him a little nickname here. Speaking on the NBA draft results and NBA free agency, Dave Pasiak joining me here live on the phone this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Mr. Pasiak, how we doing?
Doing okay, Dan. Outside of having to walk through a forest fire every time you go outside now. But other than the Canadian wildfire smoke, everything is good.
Yeah, I mean, you bring it up, and you and I were talking about this off the air. I mean, this has been a very weird, start to summer, if we want to call it that. I mean, it's been a very strange, instance. I thought these wildfires and these issues were something that, if you're living in California, if you're in Los Angeles and you're dealing with the smog and you're dealing with this, that, and the other, that would be something, right? That, you hear about it overseas or not overseas, on the other coast, on the West Coast, and not a thing that we typically hear about coming from Canada. But, in my travels yesterday, which I have to leave unnamed because they have a big part to do with our big announcement this Saturday, July 1st. But when I was traveling yesterday, I kind of looked at the sky, and sometimes when it gets really hot outside, and I used to live in Florida, it gets a little hazy. So I was like, okay, it's a little hazy, whatever, not a big deal, it's just warm. And then I thought to myself, well, it looks a little bit weird. And then I started to see the signs on the highway that said, air quality alert, consider wearing a mask. When I first saw consider wearing a mask, and I thought, oh my God, COVID, come on. And then it said, air quality alert. And then it started to make sense. And then I got out of my car later that day, and it was a different smell now. It was like and I told you this off the air, it smelled like feet meets wildfire. It was like this weird smoky, kind of feedy smell to it, and not great for my allergies or anybody. So I'm hoping that this gets under control. I know that here in central and upstate New York, they've taken down, I shouldn't say take it down, they've canceled camps that they have. So summer camps that are going on have been canceled today. And I just want this to stop. It's been going on for a month now, at least, that Canada has been dealing with this. I feel terrible for Canada. I feel bad for us. I feel bad for those like myself that, have really bad allergies. So when the air quality goes above 50, I get a little concerned, and it was at 402 a few weeks ago. So, I just hope everybody's staying safe. I know it prevented you from golfing today, Dave.
Yeah, this whole wildfire thing has cut into a lot of golfable days this summer, but it's crazy though. It's like the one that we had 2-3 weeks ago. I mean, you couldn't see to the end of the street when it was at its peak. And today, so far it's not quite that bad, but you can still, there's still a noticeable haze and noticeable aroma in the air. It's just it's a weird thing, and kind of a reminder that, no matter how hard we try, we really don't have that much control over Mother Nature.
No, and I think people need to understand the strength of Mother Nature, and not. I don't want to see it. You know what I mean? In the sense of like, I'm not. It's not a temptation of saying, "Hey, Mother Nature," but the reality of the fact of, I think God has consistently humbled humanity, or at least attempted to humble humanity. And I'm not saying, oh, God makes these wildfires and says, screw you, humans. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I think God is an opportunist. And in moments like this, it's an opportunity to remind people that you are not the end all be all, and you are not the all powerful, and you can't control everything. And I think it's a reminder. It's also a reminder to appreciate things that we take for granted, like stepping outside and breathing clean air. We live in a society, Dave, that I think has gotten way too lax on taking care of things and being good to others and taking responsibility. And I also think that, we're in a society that has started to, well, not started to, but has very openly, believed that we are the end all be all. Nobody could stop us. We don't have to answer to anybody. We're in control of everything. I think there's probably some people on this planet that could tell you they could spin the earth if they felt like it. I mean, so this is a moment, a hopefully humbling moment, like COVID, when we couldn't be around each other, like what's happening now, where people are supposed, like Damar Hamlin, where the world stopped and prayed. There are moments where we are reminded that we are but a tiny speck in the grander scope of the universe, and that we come from something a lot bigger and a lot more powerful. And I hope that these moments turn us toward God and not away from God. And I know people that watch and listen believe, and some don't, but I just feel like these are supposed to be the humbling moments where we realize as human beings that we need to say thank you to something bigger than ourselves, instead of thinking that we can just do whatever we want.
Yeah, I think well said. You're right. It's it's just a reminder about really how little control as humans you have over things. We have control over some of the things in the day-to-day minutia, but the weather amongst everything else that affects us on a daily basis. As much as we complain about it, there's really nothing you can do about it. And you're right. I think every once in a while, God throws down a little reminder of who's in control. So, hopefully this will pass, and we'll get back to breathing, clean air, and the wildfires will extinguish themselves, and it'll be a blip on the historical radar. But in the meantime, it just kind of creates a weird and surreal environment.
Yeah, and I mean, you look outside a few weeks ago, and it looked like a Stephen King movie, and I think I not only that, but I remember I was going up the stairs in my house, and there was this yellow light that was shining into my family room. And then going outside, I was driving by the fair, and I remember looking at this like haze cloud that was by the fair, and it looked like that moment in the movie where it's dead silent, and then an alien spacecraft just pushes right through a cloud. I mean, it was insane. It was nuts. And I hope we learn from it. If you have to go outside today, consider wearing a mask. If you are susceptible, or somebody is, and please don't be rude to people. Please don't I've had people tell me that allergies are just in my mind. Please understand they're not. I would love to not be bothered by dust and pollen and have a heightened issue with this smell that's out there right now, as well as cigarette smoke and all that stuff. So if somebody has allergies, or they're complaining, or they're bothered by something, please don't do the, oh, you're a dweeb, or you're just weak, or who cares, you're playing soccer with your friends and making fun of some kid because they're coughing. if you're going to be outside, consider wearing a mask. If you can hang out inside today and get some things done, do that. But just please be safe out there and be considerate of the fact that this air quality does bother some people more than others, and it shouldn't be messed with. I mean, that's reality. Like I said, when it gets to 51, I kind of put it in the back of my head. I'm on alert. Like, okay, it's at 50 plus. It was at 402 in these past few weeks, and as of right now, I actually do want to take a look at this while we get in to talk about the NBA in just a second. But I want to take a look at the air quality in Syracuse right now. It is currently 191, so it's considered unhealthy. Is the thing. There's different levels. It's considered unhealthy. All of Central New York is in the red right now, in the pink. Well, we'll call it the pink. And so the air quality alert is supposed to last until 4:45 p.m. today. So just be on alert. Just pay attention. It was starting to get bad in certain parts of New York yesterday, and it's supposed to come here more today. So please just be safe while you're out there, and be good to each other, and be kind to yourself and considerate of yourself. If you don't feel good, then don't sit out there. I wore an N95 mask a few weeks ago when I went out to see a movie. I wore it in the car, and I don't like wearing masks. And I wore it in the car, and because I like to see your smiling faces. I wore it in the car, wore it out of the car, and then I took it off when I got into the movie theater. So just be smart and be considerate. With that being said, Dave Pasiak and I are here to talk about the NBA draft and NBA free agency. So a lot of good stuff coming up here. The NBA draft happened a week ago today. So we're on the heels of that. Dave and I spoke going into it. Now we're talking coming out of it on the draft results, which I was very excited to bring to you here today on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And then we'll talk about free agency coming off of that. So, Dave, I guess we could start with the first few picks. Now I posted the picks on social media, so Facebook at Wake Up Call DT and Twitter at Call DT. You were able to see them as I posted them. I posted the first round, the top 30 picks, and so as we run down here, and you can feel free to take it wherever you want to take it, Dave. The Spurs did draft, unsurprisingly, number 1 overall out of France, Victor Wembanyama, and then second overall by the Charlotte Hornets, they drafted Brandon Miller out of Alabama. The Blazers and the Rockets, or the Blazers, pardon me, let me do that one first. The Blazers, third overall, went with Scoot Henderson out of the G League Ignite, and then Overtime Elite, which is a TBT, as well as, so they have a team in the TBT, and they also have a team they have a league that is you don't have to go to college basketball anymore. So it's a pro league that you can go into that allows you to have a different place if you don't want to go the college basketball route. It's a different avenue to get to the NBA. It's where the Thompson brothers, the twins, went. They made history at number 4 and 5. First time that 2 brothers were ever drafted in the top 5, drafted back-to-back, and are twins. So Amen Thompson was drafted by the Rockets 4th overall, and Asar Thompson was drafted by the Pistons 5th. So we'll start in the top 5. We got a player from France, a player from an actual college, a player from the G League, and a player from a league outside of college. So only one player in the top 5 was drafted through the actual college basketball system, Dave. Would love to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I think, draft mindset tends to be a little bit cyclical. We went through, several years back, there was a period of time where many of the top picks were always international guys, and then it kind of the pendulum swung back for a few years to where it's college guys at the top of the draft. Now, with all these other options out there between the G League and Overtime Elite and, obviously playing overseas, now, like you said, you got 4 of the top 5 and 5 of the top 7 are not people who came up through the college basketball route. So I think, NBA drafting, like many things in sports and many things in society, tends to be somewhat of a copycat process. So I think that if the G League elite guys and the overtime or G League Ignite guys and the overtime elite guys and international players end up being the marquee players out of this draft, I think you'll see that trend continue even more in the future. If it goes the other way and that group of guys collectively ends up being somewhat disappointing, then the pendulum will probably swing back closer to the college guys. Wembanyama he was the no-brainer. Everybody in the world had him as the number one pick. I think the team that really rolled the dice a little bit out of those top picks is Charlotte, because consensus was Wembanyama is the top guy in the draft, and then it's kind of up for debate between Henderson and Miller. And so when you're Charlotte, if Miller ends up panning out and becoming a high-level NBA guy, you look great. But if he doesn't and Henderson ends up becoming an elite-level player, then all of a sudden you're like the team that drafted Sam Bowie instead of Michael Jordan, or you're the team that took Milicic second, and he ended up being a very pedestrian player. So I think Charlotte is the one team that kind of exposed themselves a little bit to criticism, depending on how Miller pans out. I mean, if he ends up being a great NBA player, then they validate themselves. But I think that's where the intrigue's going to be, and I think the trajectories of Miller and Henderson, I think, are going to be intertwined for a while. For that reason, because that was where a lot of the debate towards the top of the draft was who was going to be 2, who was going to be 3.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, they're going to be intertwined with each other as far as, did they make the right pick and who they went after and whatnot. Then we see the Thompson brothers go. Dave, seeing the G League have a team with the Ignite where you could go play in the G League and then jump into the draft, and then Overtime Elite where you could play in this other league outside of college basketball and get drafted. Do you like it or dislike it? Because like I said, we look at the top 5 picks. One of them was from college basketball. One's overseas. One's G League. 2 are Overtime Elite. 3 of the 5 come from leagues that are not Division I men's college basketball. So what's your take on the fact that you could go to the G League or you can go to Overtime Elites League and you can find a way into the NBA? Do you like it or dislike it, knowing that we talked about before, there's only 60 spots, there's thousands of players, there's guys that spent 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years in Division I that are trying to get in the draft. There's Division II players, there's Division III players, there's JUCO players, there's overseas players, there's all these players plus G League, plus Overtime Elite, and all these other places that people go to gain experience before going to the NBA that are not college basketball. So like or dislike the reality that not only can you go to a different league and not play college basketball, but that you could be a top 5 pick this year and never, ever go and play for a college team.
I think, it depends on your lens. Through the lens of basketball development, I think it's a great thing. I think it provides multiple avenues for players that are prospective NBA players, prospective professional players in general, multiple development environments, and I think you can make a really compelling case that a guy playing overseas or playing in the G League, I mean, you're going to develop more from the standpoint of your focus solely on basketball, and you're working with pro players, playing against pro players, and so forth. So I think anything that gives another development avenue for players, I think, is a good thing for the game. I think the people that will have people that still have a romantic idea of college basketball being about the school and the student athlete and all that kind of thing hate it, right? But because I think at the end of the day, it's bad for the business of college basketball. So I think people that are kind of hold that it's about the school and the name on the front of the jersey mentality, and they're holding on to that. I think hate the fact that non-college guys are going at the top of the draft and that there are other avenues. But I think like the reality of the world today is college basketball is a development avenue the same way the G League is, the same way Overtime Elite is, the same way playing overseas is. I think, you look at the college guys in the draft, and like they're all freshmen and sophomores. So it's not a student athlete thing. None of those guys are elite level players are that concerned about playing 4 years in college and getting their degree. Some of them, to their credit, will go back and complete their degree. Once they either during their time as a professional or once their playing days are done. But I think the notion of college basketball being about the university, between freshmen and sophomores at the top of the draft, NIL, the transfer portal, all that stuff. College basketball is just it's an avenue to the NBA to development the same way the G League is and the same way Overtime Elite is. So, from the player's standpoint and for development of players and betterment of the game, I think it's a great thing. But I understand people that still are clinging to kind of the romantic idea of college basketball, why they hate it.
Yeah, and that, well, and that, we've talked about it, and that's why it's so difficult for me to be like, yeah, let me put my stamp of approval on it, because obviously I want these guys to achieve their dreams, and on the women's side for WNBA, for the women to achieve their dreams, and it's just, it's so difficult that when you add in all these other pieces, I know talent is talent, I get that. But there's so much talent in college, and that's where I feel like it's minimizing it, right? It's minimizing everybody that's out there, because we watch this talent, we watch it in the NCAA tournament, and that's where a lot of people see people for the first time. That's where people never heard of Drew Timme, and now they know Drew Timme, and they didn't see Brandon Miller because they don't watch the SEC. Now they see Brandon Miller, and or Grady Dick wasn't on their radar because they love the ACC and they weren't paying attention to what Kansas was doing, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, he's a pretty good shooter. So it's a place where we really get to see people on a grand stage, and then you look at the draft and you think about all these names and you say to yourself, like, this guy didn't get drafted, that guy didn't get drafted. I can't believe this person didn't get a look and get an opportunity. So it gets confusing. It gets frustrating. The other thing that was confusing and frustrating, Dave, is that when we look back at the first round, there were 7 trades in the first round. The Pacers drafted Bilal Coulibaly out of France. He was traded to the Wizards. Trying to figure out what was going on at that time, because there wasn't clarity, and I had to check a bunch of different sources. I was like, did the Wizards trade up to get him? Did the Pacers draft him and then trade him? And this is the thing that confuses me. When it's the Pacers and the Wizards like they were picked 7 and 8. Just trade the pick. There's like, oh no, you draft them for me and then we'll trade them to you and then we'll give you our guy. No, just trade the pick. Do what the NFL does, right? And the thing that was more confusing was watching the actual draft and having somebody go, well, that's the logo for the Pacers, but it's actually a pick from the Nuggets, who came from the Spurs, who went to the Rockets, but I think this pick's getting traded to the Raptors. And you're sitting there going, just put the logo of the person that team that it's going to. Stop confusing everybody, and we'll get into that because it got worse in the second round. But the Pacers make a pick, Bilal, and he, coming from France, he goes to the Wizards. The Wizards make the next pick. They draft Jarris Walker out of Houston, who I covered with the Houston Cougars. He got traded to the Pacers. So the 7 and 8 got traded to each other. And then the 10th pick was Cason Wallace, who went to Kentucky, who some people prognosticated would go to Toronto if he had dropped a couple more spots. He got traded to the Thunder from the Mavericks. And then the Mavericks traded their pick at 12, Derek Lively, the second, who I also spent some time with and got to interview out of Duke. He went to the Thunder. So here we are, pick 10 and 12. They just traded the players that they drafted. So essentially, the Mavericks drafted Derek Lively, and Cason Wallace was drafted by the Thunder, would make more sense to say. And then the Kings got Olivier Maxence Prosper out of Marquette, who they traded to the Mavericks with the 24th pick. The Grizzlies traded their 25th pick to the Pistons, who I also covered in college, Marcus Sasser out of Houston. And I still think some people don't know who he is, which I think is ridiculous. And then another guy I got to interview and cover who had a game-winning shot this year in the March Madness NCAA tournament. Pacers drafted Julian Strother out of Gonzaga, and they traded him to the Nuggets. So of those 7 trades in the first round, and 2 of those trades essentially just, swapping their picks, what's your take on the trades that we saw and some of these moves that were made? And did it confuse you at all?
I mean, it doesn't really confuse. I mean, it's been something that's been going on with the draft for as long as you go back, they've actually tightened things up a little bit in recent years on that. I mean, for a long period of time, the draft night trades were strictly speculative and rumors, and it was, the NBA insider guys, getting a tip from one of their sources, and the league didn't actually announce those, until the draft was complete and, days after the draft and whatnot. And you think back, Kobe Bryant was drafted by Charlotte and had to come up, put a Charlotte hat on, and had a scowl on his face because he didn't want to play for Charlotte and all that kind of stuff. So I think the league has actually gotten better in that they actually announce the trades during the draft as they develop. In terms of, you don't know how many of these things had been talked about beforehand. Contingency things. Hey, if this guy's on the board, draft him for us, and we'll make the trade. Like if you're not picking high enough to get that guy, for example. A lot of times the trades also involve players, so there's salary cap implications, and with the NBA salary structure with the draft, everything's slotted. So, so a guy may be picked higher, command a little bit of different salary than a guy picked a few spots below. And so I think there are a lot of moving parts in it. It does make it a little confusing on draft night because sometimes they come up and they get to wear the hat of the team that picked them, and 10, 15 minutes later they're traded, and that becomes irrelevant and everything. But I think it's it's just kind of become a necessary part of the business of professional basketball.
Well, I mean, to me, it's just confused. I mean, just put the hat on, right? I mean, that's what they do in the NFL. In the NFL, it's very simple. They go up to the podium. This pick of the Cleveland Browns has been traded to the Baltimore Ravens, and the Baltimore Ravens are on the clock, and they select blah blah blah. And so it's. To me, it's just ridiculous to say this. And like I said, in the second round, it got worse, where it was like the broadcasters in real time live were going, this is getting a little confusing because it says that this team is drafting, but it's actually not this team, and it came via this team. And in the second round, let's go to that quick, it did get even worse. The first 10 picks of the second round were either traded or reportedly traded. There was 12 of the picks. Now, there wasn't 30 picks in the second round this year because 2 were forfeited by the Bulls and the Sixers, I believe. So out of 58 picks, 12 of them were traded or reportedly traded. Or not of 58, pardon me. In the second round of 28 picks, because there weren't 30. Of the 28 picks, 12 of them were traded or reportedly traded. Which means that almost half of the picks in the second round didn't go where they were originally supposed to go. The Pistons traded their 31st pick. Pacers traded the 32nd. The 33rd was traded by the Spurs. The 34th by the Hornets. 35th by the Celtics. 36th by the Magic. 37 by the Thunder. 38 by the Kings. 39 by the Hornets. And 40th by the Nuggets. All traded or reportedly traded. And some of them from a team via another team. And I do remember walking into the room and hearing one of the broadcasters say, this pick came from this pick. And they're like, hold on, we're trying to figure out like who's actually drafting right now. So in the second round, I just kind of conked out. I was like, all right, this is enough for me, Dave. I got to a point where I went, oh my Lord, just tell us who it is. Put the hat. I mean, what guy wants to put the hat on and walk across? And I understand a bunch of guys in the second round aren't there, but I'm just saying, who wants to like put the hat on, take the hat off, put the other hat on? I'm happy to be a Hornet. Oh, just kidding. I'm happy to be a Laker. Like, I mean, in the second round, it got so confusing that I understand wheeling and dealing, but in the NFL, you don't have to read through a transcript to figure out who got the actual pick. It's just the team, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, the second round stuff especially always tends to get crazy because those are speculative picks. Like, we talked about this before. Yeah. Second round guys are not guaranteed contracts, and sometimes a team will draft a guy to stash him overseas for a couple of years. Like you see that with a lot of the foreign players. Sometimes you get a deal like where Andre Jackson, who's an Albany guy, Connecticut player. I mean, the Magic take him, but they drafted him for the Bucks because the Bucks obviously like him and think he's a guy that could fit in there, and so they trade him for a future pick. So. And sometimes the second round picks are attached to bigger trades just to balance out the numbers and the salary implications and things like that. So, it does make it a little chaotic to follow. But again, like the way I look at it is it's kind of just part of doing business in professional basketball, and really I think. On draft night, unless it's like Wembanyama or a guy right at the top of the draft, I think after probably the first 5 to 10 picks, I think everything is still going to be pretty fluid probably for 24 hours after the draft until any kind of deal shake out and whatnot. So I get what you're saying about it being frustrating, but I just kind of write it off as that's the way things are and part of the business.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's like anybody who has trouble focusing, like if it's look at the kitty, forget about it. but it's looking at the players that went undrafted. I want to name a couple of these before we get into free agency. Drew Timme out of Gonzaga has signed a contract with the Bucks. Jacob Toppin out of Kentucky has signed with the Knicks. We have seen Terquavion Smith, who I covered out of NC State, going to the Sixers, also covered Timme. And then seeing Serge Rice out of Texas has signed with the Spurs. Marquise Noel, would love to get your thoughts on that. Coming out of Kansas State, the native of the New York City area that lit up the Madison Square Garden, had a bunch of fans in his favor. He's signed with my Raptors. Pete Nance out of North Carolina signed with the Cavaliers. Some of the Nate Laszewski, who I covered at Notre Dame, he is signed with the Pacers. Wendell Green Jr. out of Auburn signed with the Cavaliers. And there's a Leaky Black out of North Carolina, who I also covered. He signed with the Hornets, and so on and so forth. So there's a bunch. There's a Princeton player who also signed. So there's a bunch of guys who have signed after the fact of names that people know, and definitely from the tournament, Serge Rice and Drew Timme and Marquise Noel and so on. So I'd love to get your thoughts on some of these players that signed after the draft, because I know that you said it's almost better to not get drafted in the second round and sign a free agent contract. So I'd love to get your thoughts on some of those free agents.
Yeah, I 100%. The way the rules are with second round picks not being guaranteed, and if you're drafted into a situation in the second round where you're like a filler pick and you really have no legitimate chance to make the roster, the best thing you're hoping for is like a two-way contract. Then you're in most cases you're better off being a free agent and being able to pick your destination. whatever situation looks like you can best step into. I think the other thing that it really highlights is the kind of the difference between the NBA game and the college game. And what I mean by that is, you look at Timmy and one of their most recognizable and arguably the best or one of the best players in college basketball over the last couple of years. Or you look at a guy like Garza from Iowa that was like player of the year and went back into college because he wasn't going to be drafted. But you look at guys that have been high level marquee players in college, and they don't find their way onto an NBA draft board. And I think much of that is because the NBA is drafting on potential largely. And I think especially for the guys that are third and fourth, it's almost a detriment to be a third or fourth year college guy versus a freshman or a sophomore, because I think in the world of potential and evaluation and everything, it almost creates a mindset of, well, what's wrong with this guy? Why wasn't he drafted sooner in his career? There must be a reason why. So I think sometimes, you look at, I think Yakis from UCLA was the first senior to be drafted, and he went at like 18, right? So I think that when you look at the free agent signings and the people that went undrafted, it just really highlights kind of the difference between what allows you to excel at the college level and what's, I guess, has the greatest premium when it comes to being drafted or being signed in the NBA.
Yeah, and to see these, I'd love to get your thoughts too on Marquise Noel, just what your take was on him, because he's a guy who, a lot of people got to know his name in this, obviously, this NCAA tournament, and he had an NCAA tournament record for assists with 19, and he has a two-way contract with the Toronto Raptors now. I would love to get your take on him and him getting an opportunity, because he seems like one of those guys, and the Raptors have been known to develop talent, and they won their championship in 2019 with G League developed talent. So I would love to get your thoughts on the fact that Marquise Noel could potentially become one of those names that sticks around Toronto.
Well, I think that, if he's got a two-way, that's a good thing, because that, kind of gives him a concrete avenue to get to the league. I think the one, obviously the thing that he's going to really be fighting is, his size. And he's also a guy that's older, so he's fighting a couple things. So, yeah. The size being the most obvious one, and the fact that that he is a little bit older. I think he has to overcome two pretty significant obstacles to get in the league and stick. At the end of the day, if they think he's going to help him win games, he'll play some games in Toronto. But I think that he's a guy that a great example of a guy who really excelled at the college level and carved out a name for himself. But in the NBA world, he's got some things that typically don't translate well with scouts, and hence he's undrafted. So, but Toronto's probably as good a place as any for him to land with a two-way contract. And if he does well in the G League and some things happen on the roster in Toronto, with injury, guys out, something like that, where he can get a little opportunity, then for his sake, hopefully he can take advantage of that. But I think that he's got some things really working against him right out of the gate.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is the best stories come from those that are told that they can't. So, I'm excited for Marquise Noel, and I hope that he does well. And Summer League is a thing that I've covered for many, many years, and they used to have one down in Orlando, and I went to 4 or 5 of them, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it when there was like 10, 12 teams down there, and I miss it because Kentavious Caldwell Pope, I spent time around him. There's a bunch of guys that had come through there. I mean, James Harden was down there with James Harden, and I got to see some really, really talented players who at the time weren't really looking that great. And then at the other time, on the flip side, like when I saw James Harden, he bounced the ball off his foot. It looked like he was struggling to dribble. I mean, he was a high pick, 3rd overall, and was not playing to the caliber that like people had seen him in the NBA after some years had passed. And then I got to see Kentavious Caldwell Pope, and I was wondering why he wasn't in the NBA, and now he has been. So, Summer League is a great thing, and I really would love it if they would bring it back to Orlando. They've moved all the teams to Vegas. It was mostly all the teams anyways in Vegas, and Utah had 4, and Orlando had 1, and then there was another one somewhere else, I believe, in the Northeast. And so they eventually just brought it all to Vegas, which I'm happy that all the teams are there, but it would still be nice to see something in Orlando. It used to be right around, it was like the week of the 4th of July, and right around that week, I'd be down in Orlando for 6 days watching players from all different walks of life, guys that were trying to make it through the developmental system, to overseas players, to vets trying to make a roster, to undrafted rookies, to drafted rookies. And the experience firsthand was incredible. And you're right there in the room. I mean, you can either, there's a couple rows of seats. You're with all these. I mean, I'm there with Roy Williams, who came to see Bryce Johnson. I mean, you're there with Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Patrick Ewing. I miss it. And it's an opportunity for the Noels and the Timmies and Terquavion Smith and so on and so forth. It's Pete Nance. It's an opportunity for them to show why they should have been drafted. And it's an opportunity for the guys that were drafted to prove why they're supposed to, make this money and be a potential future franchise player. And at the same time, for the second round guys, it's an opportunity for them to, showcase why they should make the roster, because there's nothing guaranteed, as we've talked about before. So I love Summer League. Bring it back to Orlando, please. With that being said, Dave, let's jump it. We're going to spend some time on free agency over the coming weeks, so we don't have to, go deep heavy into it right now. But I would love to get into free agency a little bit here this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora as we get set to have Papa Joe here in just a few minutes, and would love to get your take on what is out there, because there are a bunch of free agents, of course, of names that people know. You've brought it up before: Chris Middleton, Russell Westbrook, Kyrie Irving, D'Angelo Russell, Kevin Love, Draymond Green, who did not take his player option, Fred VanVleet, Harrison Barnes, Jeremy Grant from Syracuse, Eric Gordon, and so on, Derrick Rose, and so on and so forth, Brooke Lopez, Kyle Kuzma. So I'd love to get your take on some of the names that are out there.
Yeah, I think that obviously the names at the top of free agency. I think what Harden does is going to be really interesting to follow, and I think it has significant impact, obviously, on my Sixers, but kind of on the league too. It seems like the way the winds are blowing lately. It's more likely than not that he's going to go back to Philly, but you still hear the Houston stuff. And it's interesting, like my brother's a big Houston Rockets fan, and he doesn't want to see him sign James Harden. And he thinks they got a young core and it's going in the right direction. And, doesn't think they need to bring in a guy like Harden who's more on the back end of his career and, has probably seen his best days. But so I think, he's an interesting case. Irving, you would think that Dallas has to feel good about keeping him to make the deal that they did, but Irving's a little bit of a loose cannon, and who knows where where he'll end up. And then the other one, and Draymond Green obviously is I think he's probably going to end up back with back with Golden State, especially after they make a deal for Chris Paul and they got rid of Poole, who was, involved in the preseason scuffle. So I think, of the main guys at the top of the board, I think, those will especially be worth following. I think one of the other thing that's really going to be worth following is to see what direction Portland goes. Do they look to make a move to deal Damian Lillard and kind of retool the team around Scoot Henderson and kind of go into a little bit of a rebuild, or do they feel like drafting Henderson and making some other moves can put them back in the contender conversation and placate Lillard and continue to build a team around him? So I think that's a really interesting story to follow, in the next days and weeks, concerning free agency and movement in the NBA in general. And then there's like the next tier of guys. Like you look at Boston with like Grant Williams, who's a core guy for them, and he's a restricted free agent. So if he goes out and gets a high dollar offer, does Boston decide to keep a guy like him, or like Reeves with the Lakers, like guys who are kind of not the marquee level player, but in that restricted free agent category? If they can get an over market offer, then you put a little bit of pressure on the teams that they're with now that are in that contender window. Yeah. About do they match and keep the guy under contract? There's a lot of pressure, and sometimes teams that retain a restricted free agent, that move ends up handcuffing them as far as being able to make other moves. So I think those are kind of the stories to follow as we get into this.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking to see, essentially, like you said, when some of these big pieces fall, what type of domino effect is that going to have? So, we'll see as we go forward here. But, I, of course, as a Toronto Raptors fan, I'm circling the Fred VanVleet side of things. And what are the Raptors going to do? Are they looking to deal Pascal Siakam at all? Are they going to keep Fred VanVleet, who they kept a couple of years ago? We shall see as we step forward. It's reminding me of Kyle Lowry. The whole, he almost went to the Knicks, then he came back to the Raptors. They won a championship. What are we going to do with Fred VanVleet? He needs help. I would love to have Grady Dick and VanVleet in the same backcourt. That would be my preference. But we shall see as we step forward. As always, Dave, I appreciate it. DT and DP, Dave Pasiak, longtime basketball head coach and analyst, speaking on the NBA draft results and NBA free agency. We've only begun our discussion on free agency, Dave, so I look forward to having you back as some of these pieces fall. If you had to prognosticate as a final point here, give me one move that you think you want to go on record saying, I think this could happen.
I'll give you two.
Okay.
I think this could happen. It would be my Sixers making a move to trade Tobias Harris and get out from that contract to increase roster flexibility. And I think that's tied into what they do with Harden to a certain extent. And the other move that I think could happen would be Dan Tortora going out and buying a replica Grady Dick suit from draft night and sporting that in some of your public appearances. So I think those would be the things I'd be, that could happen.
Well, yeah, let me tell you something. I would do a whole Michael Jackson, Prince type of. I'd put on the ruby red slippers like the wonderful Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz to match my suit, and I'd have to do some type of music video with probably all types of lights and having a lot of fun. But I mean, Grady, it was an interesting choice, but I could tell you, Dave, without hesitation, that if that suit was presented to me, I'd wear it for a night on press row, just because I would love for the media to stare at me the whole game while I sit there and smile. So, I mean, I'm down with it. I would look like a pop rock, like a human version of a pop rock, but, nothing wrong with it. Listen, Grady, if your play is flashier than your suit, we're on good terms. If it's not, you and I need to talk. That's how I look at it. So with that being said, Dave, as always, I thank you, and I look forward to talking with you very soon.
Sounds great. We'll talk soon, Dan. Have a great 4th of July.
All right, you too. Happy 4th.
Thanks.
Take care. That coming from Dave Pasiak here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. When we come back, we'll be joined by PJ Papa Joe in his normal stint Thursdays between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. Eastern Time, right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you? This is a special message from Merritt Brady, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York.
Chick-fil-A for me has always been about the people. I think it starts with the strength and leadership of the Cathy family. It's just amazing to see a family-run business reach the altitude that they have. Second mile service is something that we embodied at my previous business, and the ability to make people feel like they're the only person at your establishment, that you are there to serve them that day and looking for those extra ways to make them happy, to anticipate what they need next is what makes me tick. And I'm going to have so many opportunities at Chick-fil-A to do that. It's one of my favorite things to eat in the world. My favorite application question or interview question when I'm interviewing is when I get to, have you ever eaten at Chick-fil-A? And a smile hits both their ears. You know, they can't even answer the question for a second. And when I see that, it's like, man, that's going to be a great hire. They already get it. They already feel it. They already know that we're different. The Chick-fil-A experience, it's a real thing. And then, of course, just our generosity and community involvement and making a positive impact in the lives of our team members, our guests, and the community in general, I think is really the secret sauce.
Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. This is a special message from 317 at Montgomery restaurant owner Joel Carpenter. Open Tuesday through Saturday for your dining pleasure on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York.
We wanted to be a part of the resurgence of Syracuse. We saw a lot of money being put into bringing people back downtown and thought that, we'd like to be a part of that. I love putting together a good dish where people see it first, they fall in love with it, and then it tastes just as good as it looks. We want to provide the best food in Syracuse that we possibly can, and we want you to leave here talking to your family, your friends about what you had to eat first and foremost, but also our service, and to walk out feeling like you're part of our family. I work out in the front of the house a lot, and I love walking to every single table, asking them how everything is, and people looking at me and smiling and saying, this is the most amazing short rib I've ever had. This is the most amazing filet I've ever had. And Donna is great. Sarah's amazing. Thank you for coming over and talking to us. And then them just being truly happy for the experience that they've gotten.
317 at Montgomery Restaurant, part of the fabric of downtown Syracuse, located on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York. Open Tuesday through Saturday for a unique and memorable dining experience. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, hanging out with you where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here with us every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, we are always honored and privileged to have Papa Joe on the broadcast. He is with us every Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So he's here with us today to talk Major League Baseball, golf, as well as some Jaguars, as the Jaguars have been posting about, some quick-moving things, quick-moving pieces in Jacksonville as they announced their dedication of, taking their stadium and creating something very new and fresh and amazing that will cause the entire country to have eyes on Jacksonville for the next couple of years is a really, really special thing. And I'm excited. I am so excited for my Jaguars and what they're doing and the work that they're putting together. But it's just funny to me because people have said to me over and over and over again, hey, Dan, Are the Jaguars going to leave Jacksonville? Every time they talk about a team in London or a team overseas or something like that, are the Jaguars going to leave? I think the Jaguars are going to leave. Did you hear anything about the Jaguars? There's a good chance that the Jaguars might leave and they might go to go to London, or they might go here, or they might go to LA. Every single time there's talk about movement, people ask me about Jacksonville, and I say no, and they say why, and I say because I'm in Jacksonville. You're not. I've literally been there to see the $60 million upgrades to the video boards and the things that they've done. Building Daly's Place, which is a concert place right outside where you can watch the games, which was open. Now it's enclosed and it's right there connected to the stadium. I have seen the evolution of the Jacksonville Jaguars over more than a decade. If this team was going to move, Shad Khan would be a very bad business person because he's put millions and millions and millions of dollars into a team that if he was going to move them, normally you run something down and leave. They don't build it up and say, hey, we just spent millions of dollars. Let's walk away from it all. So Jacksonville is obviously committed to Jacksonville. The Jaguars are committed to being in Duval, and we're going to keep seeing the growth. And we've seen it. I've been watching it I can't even believe how quickly some of this stuff is going up. I feel like the stadium might be done tomorrow. So, but I'm very excited about this. All jokes aside, I mean, obviously I know it takes time, but happy to have Papa Joe here. Happy to be here with you all on the East Coast, the West Coast, the Midwest, and around the world. And of course, Florida is the second hub of everything that we do with Wake Up Call. We've dug our roots deep in New York and the state of Florida as a second home for us. And I want to thank everybody for making that possible with UCF and USF, as well as Miami, Florida State, the Tampa Bay Rays, the Tampa Bay Bucks, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and so on and so forth. So thank you for welcoming me to Florida and helping us to really build our business down there. I appreciate that so much. So with that being said, PJ, let's get him on the air. Papa Joe, how we doing?
Good morning, Daniel. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. I'm down here, boy. Hot.
I know it's hot. And I want to give a shout out to my brother. So I want to give a big time shout out to my older bro, and that is Meatball number 1. I want to give a shout out to Joey, because not only does he own his own business and not only is he working his tail off, but he's doing it in Floridian heat and humidity. So I want to send him my love, remind him to drink water, and to take a break when he needs to, because I know he's working really, really hard. And within these next couple months, especially July, August, and potentially September, he's going to be working with a lot of heat down there. So Joey, if you're listening, watching, we love you. And please work hard, as you always do. I know you will, but be safe as well.
Good advice. Good advice.
So, PJ, we're going to start with baseball because we've been ending with baseball, but I want to unleash you on the baseball world. So what do you want to share about where baseball is currently at, as we have now hit our midpoint in the season for most teams? Some teams are almost to 81 games. Obviously, 81 is the midpoint of the 162. The Rays have passed it. Some other teams are almost there as we get ready for I don't want to call it All-Star Weekend because it's 5 days now from Friday to Tuesday. So the All-Star break is going to be coming up, not this coming week, but the week to follow in July. It'll be coming up. So very excited about all that is to be with that as we're getting toward the midpoint. So share with us your take on Major League Baseball as we've gone through about half a season.
Well, we have some news from the world of baseball. Last night, Domingo Germain, the Yankees pitched the perfect game. And, Of course, no one saw it because it was in Oakland. The Yankees beat the A's 10-0. He was great. I watched some clips this morning, got some info on him. He pitched 99 pitches, did a great job, 17 for changeups, and he got some guys swinging some bad stuff, sinkers in the ground. He doesn't throw the ball real hard. He's just a typical Latin pitcher. Got 4 or 5 different pitches. They go in all different directions, But when these kind of pitchers are on, they're very difficult to hit. Now, his record is only 5-5, and his ERA is 4.54. So he's at best, a marginal pitcher. But last night he was more than marginal. He was great. And I gotta say this because it pisses me off. Every time some of these foreign kids do something and they're interviewed, they got to have an interpreter. Now, Jermaine has been around for a while. He's not a rookie, certainly. Now, you would think that the Yankees would insist, take a couple English classes so you can speak, and talk. Instead, there's an interpreter sitting next to it. Interpreter's got to hear it, and the interpreter's got to say something, and then back and forth and back and forth. It's not necessary. I don't think so. But I'm going to go even further than that. I caught the Mets last night, who are dismal, Daniel. They're terrible. They got a kid from Japan, Senga. He's 5-2, had 88 Ks last night, 3.53 ERA, pitched 5 innings last night. They had a meeting at the mound in the third inning. And there's millions of people around. They had a whole infielder there, and 2 coaches and 1 interpreter. Interpreter's trying to interpret for the Senga kid. Now, this is his first year, but most of these Japanese guys that are really, really good, you know they're going to wind up in a major league sometime. They got to spend 10 years in the Japanese league before they do that. Now, you would think that they'd take some English courses along the way. Instead, we got to see interpreters. Well, that's my rant for the day. Congratulations to Domingo Germain for pitching a no-hitter. The Yankees are pitiful, though. All right, let's start.
Yeah. Well, let me make a note here really quick because Wander Franco, when I spoke with him, obviously he speaks Spanish. I can understand Spanish. There's different dialects within the world of speaking Spanish, and so I had to go through an interpreter. And I understand that. It takes longer for something to get through because you ask the question goes to the interpreter asks them, they God bless me, give their answer, and then their answer goes back to, the interpreter, and the interpreter brings it back to you. So I understand the frustration with that. And I also understand that from my point of view, if I'm going to go to another country, I may not speak your language, but I'm going to learn enough so I can feel safe enough and comfortable enough to ask questions, because I'm not going to I would never go to Japan and not speak any Japanese, because I'd be terrified of it'd be like going to a place and having your voice taken from you. And how do I know, to ask, how do I know that people are telling me the truth and not lying to me? How do I know I'm not going to end up in a ditch somewhere? So, and I'm not saying that about Japan. I'm saying in general, if I went anywhere speaking a different language, Italy, Japan, Spain, wherever, I would want to understand as best I could, or be able to speak to the point where I can, effectively take care of myself. And so from that point of view, I think it would be imperative and it would make you feel safer and good if you're in America and you speak English. I think, that's definitely an important thing to do from my point of view. At the same time, you understand, and that's the thing too, and Greg said, but I wouldn't be expected to carry on a conversation with the media. No, but I think, you understand enough, and they probably do, they probably do understand enough, most of the players, to, ask for certain things and to do the bare necessities, so to speak. But yeah, it is, they're coming from different places, and it does take more time. The one thing that I would say from a media perspective of someone that interviews is, if somebody's going to have an interpreter, allot us more time. So if each player gets 5 minutes, allot us 10, because it's going to take twice as long for us to get our questions through. So, I would definitely ask for that. And in the case of Wander Franco, when I was interviewing him, I was by myself, so I didn't have a time limit, and his interpreter was great, and they were wonderful, and he was nice enough to do it because he wasn't on the normal schedule to do it. So I would just say to allot more time if there's going to be a translator, because it's hard enough to get a question in when the beehive, which is what I call when the media pounce on a player, when the beehive is around somebody and there's 20 people screaming to get their question in. If you have an interpreter, it's going to be even more difficult, and time's going to go a lot faster. So I would just say to be considerate of the media's time if you need an interpreter. So,
Well, that's true.
yeah, with it.
Conversational English is not difficult to learn. I mean, there's a guy in the golf tour, Hideki Matsuyama, who's a great golfer, won the Masters one year. He still has an interpreter with him. He lives in this country, for Christ's sake. I mean, come on, Hideki, my goodness. That's no excuse for that. I mean, sure, he can speak English, but, he can't carry on a long conversation. But, these Latin kids have got to learn it. I mean, if they're going to come over here and take our money, they got to speak our language. So let's leave it at that. Let me get going here.
Go ahead. Go with your thoughts.
Start with the American League East. The Rays are still killing everyone at 55-28. Baltimore's 5 games back, and your pitiful Yankees are 9.5 games back. Probably one of the largest payrolls in baseball, and they're 9.5 games back. So
Pitching.
Folks should go figure that one.
Pitching.
In the Central, you got Cleveland at 39-40. Minnesota's a half a game back. Detroit is 5 game back. You've always heard me say that this Central Division isn't going anywhere. They'll have a representative for the playoffs, but that's about it. None of these teams are strong enough to go forward. And it was a different story. You got Texas at 49-31. The Astros and the LA Angels, my Angels, are 6 games back. Texas, not surprising. I mean, they're really good. I mean, they got good hitters, they got good pitchers, good defense. I mean, they have it all, and they're playing good ball. So I guess Texas would be the one to chase, but I still like Houston in this division. National League East, you got Atlanta at 53-27, very close to overtaking the Rays for the best record in baseball. Atlanta has it all. We know that. Pitching, defense, and home run hitting, ERA, and so on. Miami 6.5 games back. And Daniel, the Mets are 17 games behind. Yeah. Atlanta last week, Atlanta was 9-1, and the Mets were 3-7. Now you're not going to gain any ground when you're 3-7. If you were 7-3, I'd be a little bit more upright. But no, they're not going anywhere. The reason is there are 2 big stars who they're paying multi-million to. Linder's hitting 224, and Alonso, go Gators, is hitting 220.
Yeah.
Now, you can't win any games when you got Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer, 2 Hall of Fame pitchers, are not doing their jobs, and you got your 2 best hitters not doing their jobs. And through all this, Buck Showalter, who's a Hall of Fame manager, and Hall of Fame, who's a good player too, and he's doing the best he can with what he's got, but he can't go out and hit for these guys, and he can't go out and pitch for the future Hall of Famers. So, he's under the gun. I caught a conversation with the owner, Cohen, and he's a pretty laid-back guy, although he's got a lot of money, sure. Yeah, I guess he's not going to make any moves, but he made all the moves he could and with his general manager to get the better players in New York. And your 2 Hall of Fame pitchers aren't working, and your 2 best hitters aren't working. New York is in for a long, long haul. They're totally out of it now. No one can come back from 17 games behind in a halfway season. So against a good team like Atlanta, can't happen. That's another rant. Central, Cincinnati at 43-38. You heard me last week say that Cincinnati had won 11 games in a row. They're still doing good. They're still doing fine. Surprised me a little bit, but they do have an exciting player named De La Cruz who was hitting 300 and just smashing the ball all over the place. Great defensive player. Milwaukee's a half a game behind. I caught them last night with the Mets. The Cubs are 4.5 games behind. Very competitive division compared to the Central in the American League. These guys are all playing pretty good, and they have a chance to maybe get 2 guys sneak in to the playoffs. No, probably not, but the winner certainly can. Winner's going to come between Cincinnati and Milwaukee. In the West, Daniel, Zona is 48-33.
Uh-huh.
Now, I told you that I have been surprised by Arizona.
Yeah.
I am surprised, and I'm shocked because last year they were awful. They got a great pitcher and a kid named Zach Dellin. They're pressing all the right buttons. San Francisco's 2.5 back. LA Dodgers are 3 back. San Francisco caught up a little bit on Arizona. They were 7-3 last week. But let's face it, Arizona. I don't think is built for the long haul here. I think the Dodgers still, with a huge payroll, also, with all-stars and future Hall of Famers. I think they eventually can overtake Zona, but right now, you got to raise your flag for Zona because they're 48-33 and leading the West. Congratulations to them so far.
Thank you. And they beat the Rays recently.
Not last night though. The Rays beat them 4-3.
Yeah, I know. They split.
My hitters in the American League, Bo Bichette from Toronto is still leading the league at 323. Yander Diaz is hitting 322. Ohtani is hitting 309. I've caught Ohtani the last couple of times he's pitched, and the other night, Daniel, he pitched 6 innings, 6.1 innings, because he had a blister on his finger, one of his nails or something like that. He had 2 home runs, pitched 6.1 innings, struck out 10, and he won the game. I mean, he's playing such a high level that and I say this before every week, I say the same thing. As long as he keeps putting on his numbers, no one's going to catch him for the Gale MVP. The best player in baseball, and to me, Mike Trout, is hitting 254 with 78 homers and 42 RBIs. I mean, Ohtani, who was hitting before Trout in the lineup, is hitting 309 with 28 homers, leading the league, and 64 RBIs, which is second.
Yeah.
He's 7-3 as a pitcher, 3.02 ERA with 127 Ks. He's a pleasure to watch. He's learning English, but he can't speak without an interpreter either. So I'll leave it at that too. Ohtani's got 28 home runs. Robert from the Chicago White Sox, he got 23. Garcia from Texas has got 20. Garcia from Texas is leading with 66 RBIs. Ohtani, there he is again at 64 RBIs. Rafael Devers, probably one of the best players in baseball. If it wasn't for Ohtani, probably would be the favorite for the MVP this year. He got 61 RBIs. For the National League, Arias from Miami is hitting 396. I know Greg thinks he's going to be close to 400. He probably won't, but let's give him some kudos because he's still up there. 396 is not easy to hit, believe me. And he'll fall back into the pack, but there's no reason why he shouldn't wind up, leading the league with a 345 or 350 average. But 400, I think, is out of the question. Ron Lacuna is 331 from the Atlanta. Freddie Freeman from Los Angeles is 317. Matt Olson from Atlanta is 26 homers. He's also leading the league with 62 RBIs. There's Atlanta again. They got pitching, they got defense, they got hitting. Pete Alonso, he's hitting 220. He's got 24 RBIs or 24 homers and 56 RBIs. Soler got 21 homers. Alonso's got 55 RBIs. He got hurt. Something happened with his wrist or something like that. And he said he was going to be out for a considerable length of time. Well, to his credit, he came back early. But he wasn't the same Pete Alonso. I mean, he's swinging at bad pitches. Maybe he's just not seeing right. These guys are peculiar. They go through slumps, especially Trout. And, Trout laughs all the time. But I guarantee you, down deep, he's really hurting. But Alonso's a different story. He's a big guy, plays a great first base, and is just not hitting. He and Lindor really are 300 hitters, and they both should have multiple home runs and multiple RBIs to go with it, and they're not doing it this year. And the Mets are just an unbelievable disappointment. I hate to say that, but that's unfortunately is true. Let's go to pitching.
I want to throw this at you really quick before we go to that. So before we go to pitching, with Papa Joe giving us the standings here and a look at each of the divisions in the American and National Leagues, I want to let people know and put this into perspective. The Tampa Bay Rays lead the American League East and are still the best team in baseball record-wise. Their payroll for 2023 is number 28 out of 30. It is the third cheapest payroll, $73.184 million, and they're the number one team in baseball, showing that you don't have to pay millions upon millions of dollars just to do it. So the Tampa Bay Rays are the best team in baseball with the third lowest payroll. The Baltimore Orioles that are right behind the Tampa Bay Rays, their payroll is in the region of, let's see where Baltimore is. Baltimore is currently 29th. So the Rays are the third lowest. The Orioles are the second lowest. Oakland is the lowest. So the Rays and the Orioles are in the top two in the American League and have 48 wins or more each. And they're doing it with two of the cheapest payrolls in all of baseball. In the Central Division of the American League, the Cleveland Guardians, their payroll for Cleveland is 25th in the league, also one of the cheapest at a little bit over $89 million for this season. The Texas Rangers, who lead the AL West, their payroll is currently, Texas Rangers is one of the highest. They're in the top 10. They have the ninth highest payroll in baseball with $195.869 million. And then when we go to the National League and look at the Atlanta Braves, who are currently leading the NL East, the Atlanta Braves payroll is eighth, a little bit higher than Texas, for $203 million and some change. The Miami Marlins that are right behind Atlanta, their payroll in Miami is 24th. So you look at that. You have Atlanta, eighth highest payroll in baseball in 2023. The team right behind them in the NL East, the Miami Marlins, are 16 spots below them with a payroll of over $100 million less at $91.7 million flat. And then you look at the New York Mets, who are 17 games behind the Braves as we speak right now, and they have the highest payroll in baseball. They're fourth in the NL East, yet they spend more money than anybody else, with $353.546 million and some change. The Cincinnati Reds in the NL Central, the Cincinnati Reds payroll is the fifth cheapest in the league. They are 26th out of 30 with $83.61 million. And the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are leading the NL West, their payroll is 21st out of 30. And so they're in the bottom half with $116.471 million, being above the San Francisco Giants. The San Francisco Giants are 11th. Their payroll, comparative to the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are 116, like I said, and some change. San Francisco is 187.932, so their payroll is substantially higher than the Arizona Diamondbacks, and at least almost $70 million more. And then the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are 3 games behind the Arizona Diamondbacks and third in the NL West, have the fifth highest payroll of $222.717 million. So the Dodgers being behind the Diamondbacks, but spending almost $100 million more. So, and actually, let me look at this numbers again. Spending $100 million, pardon me, spending over $100 million more, 222 to 116. So spending $100 million more plus than the team that they're chasing. So it just goes to show you in baseball, with teams like Tampa Bay, Baltimore, Cleveland, as well as Cincinnati, Miami, and Arizona, all in the bottom half when it comes to their bank account this year and their payroll, they are spending less than the majority here, or less than a bunch of other teams that are not in first place. The Mets, the Yankees, the Padres, the Phillies, the Dodgers, the Angels, the Blue Jays, the Braves, and the Rangers are the only teams in the top 10 in most money spent in 2023 that are leading their division. Everybody else is outside of the top 10, and a lot of those teams are in the bottom portion of money expenditure, and 4 of those teams are in the bottom 6. So just what that tells you, PJ, is you don't always have to spend the most money to have the best team.
It's a good culture these places are running too. Tampa Bay's been doing this since Joe Madden was there. He was the king of the cheapos, and they always had a payroll under $100 million. They won a World Series. They were in playoffs every year. Tampa Bay still continues to play well. They've shuffled the lineup a little bit, brought in a good manager, Kevin Kay. He knows his game inside and out. But, the sad part about these teams that you just mentioned, unfortunately, if they continue to do well, the sad part is that a lot of these players are going to go somewhere else because these teams don't have the money to keep them. Now, I'm going to tell you, as pitching, the leader in the American League is McClanahan from Tampa Bay. He's got 11 wins. He's also got an ERA of 2.23. Don't think for a minute that he's going to stick around if the money comes calling. A guy like this, he's extremely valuable, and I'm sure that someone's going to offer him $200 million for 5 years or some ridiculous amount of money like that. It's unfortunate, but I want to see the kids play now because I'm not going to harp on it anymore. The payrolls are ludicrous as we speak. The three highest teams are the two LA teams and Mets. What does that tell you? It tells you that the cable contracts they have are worth multi-million dollars, and they're giving it to the teams. So if you got a good viewing area in a huge city, and you've got a ball club, you're going to make a lot of money, whether you have a high payroll or not.
Well, it's funny because you look at the top six, and you got New York, San Diego, California, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, LA, and those are your highest payrolls. So, to your point, you go to, 3 California teams, 2 in LA, 1 team in Philadelphia, and the other 2 in the New York City area, and, making all, spending all this money, and it's not paying off dividends for any of them right now as we speak. And it really does go to show with Tampa Bay and Baltimore being in the bottom 3, and then, Pittsburgh being 27th, and they've done some good things. And then like Cleveland and Cincinnati, as we mentioned, Miami 24th. I mean, Miami's a big-time city, and they're got one of the lowest payrolls in baseball, under $92 million. So it just goes to show that you don't have to break the bank in order to have a good team. I know you wanted to get into pitching, PJ, so go ahead.
I talked about McClanahan, who is the best in the American League. Probably will continue to do so. Nathan Evaldi from Texas has got 9 wins. Garrett Cole's got 8. I watched Cole twice in the last couple of weeks. Once he looked terrible, and the other night he looked good. He's trying to carry the Yankees. He's doing the best he can, but now you got Jermaine. Maybe we'll settle into a top-tier starter. I guess pitching a perfect game is going to give you a lot of notoriety, but you still got to finish the games. Framber Valdez has got a 2.49 ERA. Garrett Cole's 2.78. So Cole is there all the time with strikeouts and ERA and wins. He's the backbone of the Yankees. They just need more of it. Zach Gallen got 10 wins for National League. Your boys Kershaw got 10 wins. Kershaw's got a 2.55 ERA. The leader is Bryce Elder from Texas, 2.44. Marcus Stroman's 2.47. So there it is in a nutshell. There's a lot of these statistics. I think maybe go overwhelm people sometimes, but you got to consider what they're going through right now. The Mets especially are going through a terrible time. They can't do anything right, and the leaders of the team, the ones that makes the more money, are supposed to lead. I mean, I saw Scherzer and Verlander in the dugout last night, and they were laughing and joking and carrying on, which is fine, But you're 17 games behind, and you two guys are supposed to be the stalwarts, possibly the 2 best pitchers in a baseball in the last 10 years. Those guys, they should be leading. And I don't want to see you laughing and joking around. Linder, Alonso, the same way. You can't hit 224 and lead your team. No, you can't do it. You can pick shortstop clean. That's great. Alonso, you can snag any ball thrown to you at first base. That's great, too. But you got to lead better than this. There's no leadership in New York. And even though you got one of the best managers in baseball, Buck Showalter, I'm not sure Showalter is going to last the season. I think he will because Cohen said he will, and I sort of believe this guy. But I don't think he'll be back next year. It's abominable what the Mets are doing with a large payroll. And the Angels are the same way. At least the Angels are winning now. They're only 3 games behind, but they got $1 million, several $1 million invested in Anthony Rendon, who they got from Washington, and he hasn't played last year, and he's not playing this year either. He's hurt. All these guys are hurt. I don't know. Mike Trout can't carry it himself. Otani's the best player in baseball right now, so it's difficult to watch some of this stuff. I want to see the Angels do well. I want to see Mike Trout finally get to the postseason and do something, but I'm not sure that his team is good enough. I'm not sure the rest of the guys are good enough.
Yeah.
And it's the numbers. The numbers don't lie, but then again, the numbers are sort of exaggerated sometimes. You're not going to find a lot of players from Miami, especially, leading the league in any type of situation. Baltimore's the same way. Arizona's got a good pitcher, a real good pitcher. The rest of their team is just a regular bunch of guys. So if they can gel and the manager can pull the right strings, watching his pitching, getting his guys in there a couple innings at a time, 1 inning at a time, get some timely hitting, they could carry on. So I think with the All-Star game coming up, some teams need to really settle back and figure out, what the hell am I going to do going forward? How can I get myself over this hump? The Mets are gone. The Mets are gone. But the Yankees, 9.5 back, still got a shot. Aaron Boone has been in New York for years. He's a great manager, but he's got a bunch of stiffs, family, frankly, in New York. He's got Stanton, who used to be a good hitter. I don't know, he's not a good hitter anymore. He's just hitting right above the Mendoza line. Aaron Judge is still hurt. Got Josh Donaldson. They got playing Josh Donaldson. He's hitting 164 for crying out loud. Why the hell you got him in there? Put some rookies in there if you want to get some players some time. There's a lot I can rant about, but I love baseball, so I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's tough, and I know that Greg's been talking here in the feed about can they make a deal for Scherzer, and I said, from suspension to injury to his actual cost, are people really going to be knocking down the door? Our team's going to be knocking down the door to get him. He has an actual cost and he has a figurative quote unquote cost. The cost of the suspension and what he's done there, and will he try to do something in the future, with the sticky hands and whatnot, and injury. I mean, staying healthy plus suspension plus how much money you cost. It's an actual cost. It's a figurative cost. And does somebody want to pick that up? And that's, I've had hope for the Mets for a bunch of seasons now, and they're just not coming through. And it's really sad to see, because the Mets get you excited and they get your hopes high and they spend some money, and they're spending more money than the Yankees this year on their payroll, but it's not turning out into victories. It's not just about spending money, it's about spending money smartly. And that hasn't essentially happened. They're spending a lot more money than many teams out there, and between 1 and 2, the Mets are spending almost $80 million more than the Yankees. And to think that we would ever say anybody was spending more money than the Yankees, let alone almost $100 million more, I bet you wouldn't have thought it was going to be the Mets. And, here we are with the Mets with a massive, massive payroll and nothing to show for it right now, almost 20 games back in their own division. So we'll see. But I do want to, before we let you go, PJ, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, inside of Where Sports Meets Life, here with Papa Joe every Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We want to get into golf a little bit. We've talked about a lot of different things over the week. So what's on your mind in the golfing world right now?
Well, the two leagues are still messing around with each other, and some of the players are getting involved, and I don't think that's necessary. It's a business proposition now. It's not. It doesn't have anything to do with how the players are playing or where the players are playing. There is some language there that's pro LIV, and there's some language there for the PGA. I don't know how strong Monahan is going to be when he takes over both ships, and I'm not sure how stringent the CEO, the whole deal, is how stringent he's going to be with his talks. They want the PGA to obviously raise their purses and have to be a little bit more competitive. And I don't see the LIV going away this year or next year. So I'm not sure when the silly season is upon us, when all the numbers are going to be crunched and all the people start talking and all the players start taking their vacations. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I know that Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka and Phil Mickelson went to the LIV for one reason. They went for money, period. They're in Spain playing now this week. They play a 50-hole tournament, and they're in a resort. I mean, for crying out loud. And the winner gets $12 million or $8 million, some ridiculous amount of money. The PGA had a nondescript event last week that Rory McIlroy said was being outdated, so he doesn't want to play there anymore. McIlroy's been the biggest voice for the PGA, but he's not saying anything. I mean, he wants things to be nice, but he's not giving any concrete solutions. The solutions have got to come when the two sides meet. Like I always did with my days in business, I'd say, throw a couple of pizzas on a paper on the table, bring some water in, and shut the door until everything's solved. You know, that's what's going to happen here. And these guys have got to somehow make an agreement that's financially feasible for the PGA to follow. Because what I read and what I understand is the PGA was in dire straits because they raised their purses to try to offset some of the players that were going to the LIV, and that's from a financial standpoint. If your business plan doesn't it's not solid behind it, you're going to lose money. And the PGA was probably losing money before they were given a lifeline. I'm not so sure if all that's correct because we'll never see the numbers. But when you give out all this kind of money and you got some of your sponsors leaving your own tour, it's difficult to put tournaments together if you don't have the sponsors. So with that being said, I know it's a lot to think about, but there's a lot more going on behind the scenes that we understand. And as long as these guys are happy playing golf right now on both tours, leave everything alone. You just watch the players, enjoy the skill set that they have, and also look at the LIV too. It's on TV too. I mean, you can see some great players there too. So just not as many as the PGA. So cooler heads have got to prevail, and all the junk that you're going to hear in the next probably weeks or months is not going to amount to anything until they sit down and hammer out a deal.
Yeah, and hopefully they will soon. You know, we shall see. Jacksonville Jaguars, I do want to get into this. PJ, you know, the Jaguars are, as I had alluded to earlier on in the broadcast, they're already breaking ground. They're already putting a bunch of work into their facilities in their area. We're seeing giant logos coming up, different things being made and put together. The Jaguars are not wasting any time. What's going on down in North Florida that you could tell us?
Well, there's really everything's kind of quiet. I mean, there's some pundits that are throwing some stuff out there just to have something to talk about. But the training camp ended good. I mean, I don't think anyone got hurt. All I'm going to concentrate on, I think maybe even for next week if we could, is trying to come up with a 53-man roster. I think things are so far along now that we could probably do that. There's probably going to be some surprises in that, but with the entry of some of the new players and some of the players that were signed as free agents and bringing Calvin Ridley back, of course, he's going to be one of the players we talk about. But I think next week, if we can come up with a 53-man roster, it would get us into the summer feeling pretty good about where we are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to it. The Jacksonville Jaguars, it's nice to talk to people who, you know, are not Jaguars fans. And, you know, they've come up to me and, I mean, as recent as yesterday and made comments to me about the Jaguars and their thoughts and, you know, and just what their take is on this team and what they think the team, you know, can do and their excitement for the team. So, you know, it's great to hear that. It's great to hear it coming from, like I said, people that, you know, they're not Jaguars fans, yet they're excited. So, you know, we shall see what the Jaguars do. I'm one of those people where it's like, hey, let's go game by game. and let's take this piece by piece. I'm not a person that's going to sit here and talk trash. I'm not somebody who's going to sit here and say, "Oh, they got it in the bag." That's not how I feel about any of this. So, I'm hoping that the Jaguars continue to put their work in, continue to be effective and be positive and make good moves and have the right people behind them. This team has not made back-to-back playoffs in a very, very long time. So it's great that they made it last year. It's great that a few years ago they were, for the third time in their young history, knocking on the door of the Super Bowl, but they've never advanced to the Super Bowl. They don't know what it's like to win the AFC completely. So there's plenty of work to be done, plenty of things to be excited about. And the one thing that I will give them a ton of credit for is that Shad Khan and Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence and my guy Andre Sisco from Syracuse's team. I mean, there's a lot of things for us to be excited about, and I want to thank the Jaguars for that because they put a lot of work in over a long period of time to really make this special. And so, we're excited, but I think Papa Joe would agree with me that we're cautiously optimistic, and we're not sitting out here guaranteeing anything because 99.9% of the time when you say, hey, I'm guaranteeing that my team's going to make it here and make it there, we don't typically see that happen. So I'm not in the business of guaranteeing. I'm in the business of hoping and wishing them the best, and we'll see where we go from here as they're obviously an incredible franchise that means the world to me, and I'm very much excited about this season, but cautiously optimistic.
There are no excuses anymore now. Now, as of last year, you have a strong owner, well respected, got a lot of money, you got a good coach, a Super Bowl coach, and you got a franchise quarterback. There are no excuses anymore.
Yeah.
Peterson has to put it together with the players that he's got. He's got to take care of his quarterback, and he's got to use his quarterback to put up some points. I don't want to see too many 21-17 games or 13-10. I don't want to see those anymore. Defense is fine. I like that. But let's air it out. Peterson, you have no excuses now. You got a good bunch of kids that are catching the ball for you. Now with Ridley, can stretch the field. A couple of strong tight ends. We can go over that next week. But there are no excuses anymore, Daniel.
Yeah, no, not at all. So I'm excited to see where we're going to go from here, PJ. I'm looking forward to it. I know that you are. And Greg said about the Mets, last year our fan base was teased. Overall, our future's still bright and have an owner that cares about his team and the fans. So, hey, I'm always hopeful for the Mets. Always rooting for the Metropolitans as long as they're not playing my Diamondbacks to have themselves a wonderful, wonderful outing, every outing. And so we'll see. But, as always, PJ, I appreciate your time. Appreciate you being here. Look forward to, obviously talking about a lot of things coming up as we do every Thursday. And most importantly, welcome home, MT.
Yes, I'm going to so many doctors that it's ridiculous what's happening to me. I mean, I'm sitting here talking and I don't feel that bad. But once I get up and start to move around, then it hit me that I don't feel that good. But I got a bunch of appointments lined up, and I just hope that I'm going to physical therapy now, and right around the corner from us, Stars Rehab, good bunch of guys in there. So, maybe these people can help Humpty Dumpty go back together again.
Yeah, we hope so. We're always praying for you, PJ, and as always, I love having you here on the show, and I love our time capsule. We've been building this for, hard to believe, but about like 3 years now of us doing these shows together and just being able to spend this time and quality time on the air and share it with the world. So we're doing something special, and I very much appreciate the fact that you always take the time and the love that you give to it. So I look forward to talking with you soon. And like I said, you're always in my prayers.
Okay, good. Hey, take care now.
All right, you too. Take care. That coming from Papa Joe here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. We're going to take our final step aside, and we'll wrap up the show right after this. In these unique times, There are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville beats. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and I want to thank you all, as always, for being a part of the show and hanging out with us where sports meets life. It means the world to me that you spend your mornings with Wake Up Call every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and it's an honor and it's a privilege for me, and I don't just say that. People that have come to know me know that if I say something, I definitely mean it, and it's important to me. And so when it comes to all the wonderful businesses that we work with and we consider our partners in the community, to all the teams that we cover, from, Pop Warner to high school to college to pro, and, it just really is. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing that we get to do. And I am very honored. I'm honored beyond belief that you give me your time and your energy and your positivity, and it is great. It's great, and you've all been incredible and so incredible, and to be here with me Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, typically beyond that, on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. I appreciate that. I also appreciate the fact that you've been with us on all of our many outlets that we have: Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, Player FM, Podbean, Podvine, Podchaser, as well as Boomplay, TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube. It's definitely been awesome to see you connect with us in so many different ways and to be a part of the show. I mean, it's really hard to miss us. And what I mean by that is, we're available on you're looking at it on your screen right now for those of you listening, and just gave you the rundown. We're in so many different places that we're really, really hard to miss. And, we love that. I love that. I love the fact that, we come into your office and in your home, and wherever you are, we are, and we try to do that very purposefully, that you have us and that, like I said, we're really hard to miss, and that we're a place where you can just come and enjoy yourself and have a great time and feel appreciated and feel loved and feel valued and get stories in a way that aren't going to be told this way anywhere else. I mean, stories that are exclusive, stories that you're not going to find anywhere else. And even if somebody interviews someone 100 times over, that it's never going to be like it is with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So, I pride myself on a lot of things that we get to do here, and in a lot of special ways that we get to bring you what we bring you. So I want to thank you for your love. I want to thank you for your positivity. I want to thank you for your time and your effort and your enthusiasm and everything that you bring to me, because it's really special. So thank you for that, and much appreciation for that. And God bless always for, you just clicking on any one of our Wake Up Call outlets and watching and listening and reading really means a lot to me. I want to thank our wonderful partners, Carvel DeWitt, our longest standing partner. We've had Carvel for over a decade be with us, the longest Carvel franchise as far as their history in America, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So shout out to Carvel DeWitt for that. 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York. They are the exclusive home as well of our DT Dolphin, which is a Sunday that is, a Sunday fit for a Division I school. And as they move to Division I, we have built up their own Sunday where you can go and get the DT Dolphin at Carvel DeWitt. I suggest you do it today, especially with it being warm outside. The Wildcat Sports Pub, much love to the Wildcat. Been working together, I think in August it'll be 8 years that I've been working with Danny Tome and his team, and I could not be more grateful to the Wildcat. Danny has been so supportive of everything. It's been a wonderful, wonderful ride with the Wildcat Sports Pub, and I feel very grateful and honored and privileged to have Danny in my corner. So I want to thank Danny for that. I want to thank his entire team. I want to thank his incredible wife Heather as well. So much love to everybody over there at the Wildcat, and to the people that I've known there for years. I mean, it says a lot about a business when they keep their family together. And there's been so many faces that you saw at the Wildcat 8 years ago that you see today, or 5 years ago that you see today. So a big shout out to them for that. The Mother's Cupboard. I mean, listen, Mother's Cupboard is a staple of Central and Upstate New York. If you know Mother's Cupboard, you know Syracuse. If you know Syracuse, you know Mother's Cupboard. They're synonymous, in my opinion, and they are wonderful. Their brand is known by people all over the place, arguably all throughout the world, and obviously people know them here in our community. And I have the privilege to have my own sandwich there, which to me is absolutely insane, to be at a place that's a staple of our community and to say, oh yeah, my breakfast sandwich is exclusively at Mother's Cupboard. It's like saying my breakfast sandwich is located inside of the Holy Grail. So 3709 James Street in Syracuse, New York. Go and check out the Mother's Cupboard. Get the Cuse McMother, which is my sandwich. Bacon, egg, and cheese inside of 2 pieces of French toast. Pick it up and eat it like a sandwich, or cut it up with some syrup. You can sub sausage in there as well. I know some people have done that. They've scrambled their egg instead of having the egg over hard. So however you want to do it, go get it at Mother's Cupboard 7 days a week. PB&J's Lunchbox, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Chick-fil-A Watertown, 317 at Montgomery Street, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Pizza Man, Great Lakes Honda City, Avicoli's, where we just were this week for an outstanding Liverpool Leadership Lounge where so many of you watched from wherever you are. Thank you for that. Thank you for your support. Thank you for caring about our community and about Liverpool High School and the Central School District. Thank you to Dan Henner, the superintendent of Liverpool Central School District, and to Ari Lieberman, the Liverpool High School athletics director, and to the coaches and the student athletes now and then and coming up. So much appreciation and love to all of you. And obviously with my show with the Wildcat, much appreciation to West Jenny, to my time at Pizza Man and everything we've done over the years. Much appreciation to Beeville, and also our work that we've done with CBA and ESM and so on and so forth at CNS. And so many, many thanks. And to the Southern Tier, all the schools that we work with, from Windsor to Shenango Valley, Shenango Forks, Union Endicott, Maine Endwell. So many things we've gotten to do, and it's made possible because of God more than anything, and the great people that I've met along the way that we've crossed paths with, and I thank God for that every single day. Wake Up Call is the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Le Moyne College Dolphins. It's Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call. First and third Wednesday of each month, we're bringing you at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, AD and DT, with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora. So definitely appreciate everything we get to do with Bob. We just did one yesterday. You definitely don't want to miss it. There's a lot of, as always, there's a lot of things said there that you're not going to find anywhere else. A lot of breaking information and a lot of behind the curtain information that you don't typically get. And you get it right here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Second and fourth Wednesday, the Dolphin Dive. We have our Road to D1 series where we've been talking with coaches at Le Moyne about the move to Division I and covering many different programs. So definitely uncover those Dolphin Dives, and plenty more Dolphin Dives coming up with student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. And you could get all of it by going to the Le Moyne tab on wakeupcalldt.com, which updates throughout the year, and by subscribing to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. For more information on your Dolphins, go to LeMoyneDolphins.com. As always, Fins Up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. The Bobcat Buzz comes to you every single month with your Bobcats being featured here on Wake Up Call in a way that they've never been featured before, giving them coverage that's unprecedented with every single one of their incredible programs. Some of their programs winning national championships, a bunch of their programs making it to the national tournaments, and an inaugural program in baseball that just finished up their first season, an uptick program in esports. So many great things going on with the Bobcats. Plenty more to come from student athletes, coaches, and administration. You can find it all in the updated page on wakeupcalldt.com for BSC Syracuse, which stands for Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse. And, of course, on youtube.com by subscribing to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and searching Bobcat Buzz. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. And as always, go Bobcat Nation. With that being said, I want to thank my wonderful guests of Dave Pasiak and Papa Joe, a great friend in Dave, who has been on the show for 11 years and was with me from when I moved back to Syracuse to now. And, of course, for my other dad, Papa Joe. God bless and thank you both for being awesome. Inside of MonPazPopcorn.com is what's popping. Head out to MonPaz today. Let them know that Wake Up Call sent you. 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. I call it the snack capital of the world, in my opinion. So head out to MonPaz today. And, of course, go and see their food truck, which is literally everywhere all summer long. So it's hard to miss them. Definitely try their cotton candy, their funnel cakes, their deep-fried Oreos, their kettle corn, their caramel corn, their popcorn, their many flavors of corn, and their lemonades. Everything that they have is incredible. I know that because I've tried so many different things. Their chocolate-dipped Oreos, their chocolate-dipped pretzels. You can't miss with MonPaz. And you can find them on 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York, if you like to support local as much as I do. Find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. As always, God bless, no stress, do your best. Go to our website that we share on all of our social media and start buying our gear. We appreciate it in advance.